talk
wants
about.
to sit down and make a budget?
I mean, I have to tell you, I don't like to make a budget because
You don't like to, and you're a financial wellness
Yes.
expert. Hey everyone, I'm Josh, and this is the In Your Corner podcast from CBS News Philadelphia, where we are all about helping to empower you, find you solutions to better manage your money, spot the latest scams, and just be an all-around better consumer and know your rights so that you're not taken advantage of. Do you ever feel like your wallet maybe needs a little bit of a fresh start? Well, holidays are here. We are right in the thick of the spending season, and the new year is coming up quick. And so for many of us, that probably means maybe setting some new financial goals, or maybe you're dusting off the old ones that you didn't quite hit the mark on for this year. A new Vanguard survey says nearly 3 out of 4 Americans fell short on their 2025 saving and spending resolutions. The good news, most believe 2026 will be their comeback year. So how do we make those goals stick? Well, joining us today is Kate Byrne, financial wellness expert and Vanguard's head of Cash Plus distribution. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Based right here in Philadelphia. And we are so appreciative that you're on the pod here today. Thanks for coming in.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited about this because this conversation really cuts right to what In Your Corner and this podcast is all about. Like I always say, if knowledge is power, then money knowledge is like everything.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
First, tell us kind of what a financial wellness expert is, what your background is, how you got here.
Yes. So I've been at Vanguard for almost 20 years now. Spent a huge chunk of time serving our high net worth investors, both in sort of responding to their needs, but then offering solutions. So just like you said,
Love that.
money is sort of at the heart of everyone's lives. It's math, but it's also highly emotional. And so we spend time on the sort of direct to consumer side, but I've also spent time with 401k plan participants, which is really where a lot of people start their financial journey. And now back on the high net worth investor side, spending time with investors on basic retirement savings, their emergency savings, like we'll talk about today, then needs beyond that. Should you consider things like financial advice or a college savings account? So really covered the gamut. And I'm passionate about making sure that investors feel both sort of mathematically sound, but also emotionally settled with their decision.
And when you say investors too, I think one of the biggest things for me is breaking down the maybe mindset that like an investor is someone on Wall Street. Like we're all investors.
If you have any form of cash, whether that's Venmo or actual cash, you are an investor.
Yeah, it's so switching that mindset. Let's just dive right in here. Let's start with the good news.
Yeah.
So the good news is Vanguard recently surveyed more than 1,000 people 18 and older across the country, and most did say they have financial resolutions for 2026, like music.
That in and of itself is
music
great
to my ears.
news.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So love that. But as we said, the bad news is most of us who maybe started this year with similar goals didn't quite hit the mark. So where did you guys find that most people fell short here this year?
Actually depended a little bit on your age range. So a ton of folks who consider themselves boomers, they actually felt like they maybe had unexpected expenses that hit them. Many millennials felt like, ooh, my income didn't quite hit the mark of what I wanted to, and so that affected their savings. Our friends who are Gen Z, they sort of felt like, oh, am I living beyond my means? And so those were the sort of sources of anxiety for the different cohorts that we talked to.
Kind of like the Spotify Wrapped, but for your finances here.
Yes, but in Spotify, the age might not mirror your actual age, as I discovered this morning.
Actually. Oh my gosh, what's your age?
My age was 47.
Oh no.
It aged me a bit. My wrinkles might say otherwise, but it did age me a bit. But then also, my kids, they're obsessed with the movie Sing, if you know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Oh, so you've got a lot of that on the playlist too.
Yeah.
Balances it out.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the snapshots, though, that you found in terms of financial missteps. You kind of categorized it there based on generation. But overall, were there sort of some general missteps that you saw across the board?
Yeah. So I think what we saw by folks is perhaps not setting a specific enough goal for themselves.
Okay.
So in an ideal world, and again, not all of us can live in the ideal world, but in an ideal world, you're saving towards 3 to 6 months of income. Like that's nirvana. But I think sometimes that can overwhelm people because 3 to 6 months of income is quite a bit of money.
That's a lot. It's like, where do you start?
Where
right?
do you start? Yes. And so some of our advice is small intentional steps. Things like $5 to $10 a week. If you can just do that, think about where you could be at the end of the year, especially if you put it in an account that's making a little bit of money for you. You can oftentimes work towards like an ideal first step, if you can't get to 3 to 6 months income, is $2,000. We found in another survey that we did that $2,000 reduces your financial income.
Huge.
Yes, like just because you know that if you get a flat tire or you have to go to the doctor and it's not covered, like typically that's in the range of sort of saving you a bit from having to go into credit card debt, for example.
But most of us don't even have that, right?
Right. Most of us don't even have that. But starting is something.
Got to start somewhere. So going now into 2026, are you finding that saving, some form of saving is the top resolution when it comes to finances?
Yes. So most folks are saving or mention sort of like emergency savings generally, and then exploring a high yield savings account. Those are sort of the themes.
I love talking about high yield savings
Do you?
accounts.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Any chance I get. Because for me, I felt like I was mad that I didn't learn about it until like later on in life. And then I've also been surprised at how many people still don't know about them or fully understand them. So just first kind of explain to us, what is a high yield savings account?
Yeah. So can I first go back to your other comment?
Okay. All right.
So you mentioned you didn't know about it. Were you like me and still in the bank account you opened in college?
Yes, it actually was called the college checking account, I think, still. Yes.
So, and the bank maybe even changed names, but you're still in that same savings account. And that's so many people are in that situation because inertia sets in. All your accounts are linked to it. And so it just becomes harder and harder to change. But you're likely losing money because most bank accounts are not beating inflation. So
your bank account is losing money.
Yes, because, okay, think about this. Inflation, which is like confusing in and of itself, but let's just to set a bar, is 3%.
Okay.
So if you are putting your money in a savings account and it's not getting you 3%, it's not getting you enough money to sort of meet your everyday expenses because your expenses are rising. The rate that they're rising is around that 3%.
So you're not keeping up.
You're not keeping up.
So that's where then this high yield savings account comes into play.
So a high yield savings account is an account that folks like Vanguard have that typically is at a rate much higher than a bank account. And oftentimes it has the features that you want, the accessibility that you want, and hopefully one thing you have to check for is the safety that you want. So does it have the level of FDIC insurance is what we call it, that you ideally would expect of an account?
So when you talk about rate, it's not any rate that you're being charged. It's rate that you're earning interest. Right?
Exactly. So you're giving your money to the bank. That bank makes money on your money. You should be also making money.
I would agree.
So the rule of thumb is if your bank is not giving you more than 3%, you should be exploring a high yield savings account that gives you more than that. We're at 3.25% now at Vanguard. We're really proud of our product. There's tons of great products out there, though. And you've got to make sure for your own sort of rate of keeping up with whatever else is happening in the world that you're beating that 3%.
Yeah. So whatever total you have in that account each month, you're getting a 3% interest return on that money. So the more money you put in, the better the return.
Right. So if you're doing these little small steps, $5, $10, maybe you work your way up to $20 a month. You want to make sure you're getting to a point where that money is making you more each month, not that it's actually shrinking relative to inflation.
I know. It's like the saying, it's easier to make money once you have more money, right? It just it continues to become easier and easier. And compare that to your typical savings account, like with a brick and mortar. A bank is usually what we think about. What is the interest rate on that's not making me any money versus this?
0.4%.
0.4%.
0.4%. So most high yield savings accounts, if they're at a good rate, ours 3.25, 8 times that. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not looking at that type of an account, because you're working hard to save that money. You're likely giving up something, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as free lunch. You're giving up something to put that money in that savings account. Make sure it's doing something for you.
So what's the catch?
So
Is there?
I thought,
Because that would be my thing is, okay, so I'm putting it in, it's making me money. There's got to be a catch. Is there a catch?
I don't think there's a catch. You want to check that it meets your needs, right? So accessibility. If you love using Venmo, PayPal, you want to be able to get access to your money, make sure that your high yield savings account has that. Second, FDIC insurance. You want to make sure that any vehicle that you're in sort of matches the safety of a bank. And then third, rate, which we already talked about.
Yeah, and I mean, so you mentioned Vanguard has one. You know, I have an Amex one. There's a Marcus one. I know.
It's okay.
There's a Marcus. There's all these different names. They're all sort of these. They don't have the traditional brick and mortar branches.
Correct.
Which is why they can offer higher returns, right?
Yep.
And generally, this is probably something you'd have to check though. There's not like a fee, right, to open these accounts. There's not generally an account minimum even.
There can be account minimums
Sometimes.
on some of these. Yep. And so you gotta do your homework, explore, but typically they work pretty darn similar to your normal savings account.
I told you I love talking about high
Yeah,
yield savings.
I love this.
and too, and this was a big thing, and I taught my mom this when I finally was like, you guys don't have what?
Yes.
Is that it's liquid, it's liquid still.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, you most times you check, but make sure you can get that money just like you would if you went to your bank in the ATM and did a withdrawal.
Exactly.
So that it's not held up. It's not like an IRA or some kind of.
No, it is not like a retirement vehicle. It is truly a savings vehicle.
So when we look now to 2026, we said, 84% you guys found have a financial resolution.
Yes.
How great is that? Which is up from last year, which maybe is sort of indicative of just where we're at right now economically.
Yep.
A lot of people feeling uncertain.
Yep.
You've got news about tariffs. You've got news about rising prices.
Never ends.
It never ends. And so good to see that. And did you guys find that the number one is
Emergency savings.
building that savings?
Yes. And actually, even that finding was heartening to me, because if you think about your financial life, my dad actually taught me this. So you start with emergency savings. Like, that's the core. That's where you start. Make sure that you have that rainy day fund. Number one. Number two, if you're lucky enough to be able to consider a retirement vehicle, then you make sure you're meeting your employer match. And then you can get to the rest of life, right? But before you do anything, make sure that you have the savings you need to help you out on a rainy day, because the downside of not having it is pretty significant. Oftentimes, you end up in vehicles like credit card debt or personal loans, which charge you a ton more when you pay back that money. And so getting that emergency savings shored up can just relieve so much anxiety.
I find one of the biggest dilemmas, though, people face is, okay, do I save or do I pay down my debt, especially when these credit cards are carrying the ridiculous interest rates that they are right now? What would you tell someone?
Yes. So I think it's a balance, right? So you really want to avoid debt if at all possible. But
the reality is,
so many people have credit card debt. So many people have student loans. Housing costs are right. So the list goes on. And so to the extent that you can sort of get your emergency savings at least to, let's call it 1 month of income.
1 month of income. Okay.
Work your way towards 2 while you're paying down that debt. It also oftentimes depends on the rate that you're paying on that debt. So if you had that debt a long time ago, the rate actually might not be horrible. And so then you kind of want to make a decision about shoring up your emergency savings as you're slowly paying off that debt. If it's a high interest rate, you want to be doing them in parallel the best you can. Again, taking baby steps towards that emergency savings as you pay off that debt.
And we've done several reports on In Your Corner too about options that you might have if you're facing a lot of credit card debt. There are solutions to maybe lower your interest rate. There are nonprofit credit counseling agencies that can help you with that,
Yes.
that don't put you in a position that maybe some debt settlement or other really kind of scary or options would.
Yes. And I think you want to, the best you can, do your homework on who you're working with to sort of figure out your debt picture. Almost see it as a portfolio that you're working towards to make it simple for you to pay off. And to your point, make sure it's at a rate that is reasonable for your income.
I hate to always go back to it because it feels like maybe not cliche, but it feels like, oh, really? But like, doesn't it all start with making a budget? Like
it is, which is like painful to
who
talk
wants
about.
to sit down and make a budget?
I mean, I have to tell you, I don't like to make a budget because
you don't like to, and you're a financial wellness expert.
So let me tell you why I don't like to make a budget. Because in my family, my husband's better at saving and I'm the spender.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm pretty neurotic about retirement savings and being in our Cash Plus account, all that good stuff. But like when we do a budget and you actually sit down with your partner and you're looking at a boring Excel sheet, it comes out like how much I spent on this blazer, which isn't fun.
Oh, you're revealed.
Yes, you're like you're exposed. And so it's not fun to do that. It is actually quite painful. So here's how I do it, which is like maybe silly, don't make fun of me. But it's like, let's do 1 month. Let's look at 1 month. Let's go through our checking and savings accounts. And let's go through an itemized list of what we spent. Oftentimes, you can sort of do like almost a Spotify Wrapped, right? So you can do categories of things. Okay. So food. So did you use delivery? How much did you spend at the grocery store? Did you do Costco this month? Whatever that is. Sort of put that down and do either 1 month or one category a month. So whether it's food, clothes, childcare expenses are huge, your mortgage or your rent, and do a category or all your expenses for a month. Sit down and do that. Once you do that, you're pretty much there. And then you can look at, okay, so now this is how much is going out. This is how much is coming in. And then and this is a good time to do it, right? Because it's year end. You're sort of looking into the next year of income and say, what is the deficit or the surplus? And what am I doing with that deficit or surplus? And do I need to adjust what's coming in and what's going out?
Because you can't really know where you're going till you know where you're at.
Yes, but it is like, it's one of those things that's daunting to sit down and do. And once you do it, you are much less anxious.
Agreed. And it's been life-changing for me too. I mean, I have the Excel spreadsheet thanks to the help of a very good friend who is much more knowledgeable in this stuff than I am. Where you put in your expenses, you put in your income, and you can see in bar charts, are we exceeding? Do we have a surplus? Where are we putting that? I mean, but it really, again, I know it's annoying for people to hear, but you've got to have a baseline, right? You've got to know where you're at.
You do. But you can step into it, right? So you can sit down for 15 minutes one night by yourself and literally look at just what you spend for groceries for the month.
Which can be eye-opening.
It can be eye-opening. But do that for 15 minutes. Then the next night, do 15 on what you spend in childcare. And even if you do it in little chunks, it's little like building up to an exercise plan. It gets easier and you sort of build your resilience over time to dealing with what can be a really overwhelming topic, an emotional topic of money.
Yeah. My husband really loves when I remind him that, it looks like we're eating out a little too much.
No, like who wants to do that? But you'll feel much better when you've saved a ton more after not doing that.
Exactly. So in terms of like practical steps, you keep going back to this sort of idea of starting small. Is that really the best way to go about it, is to think about all of this? Don't look at it from like 30,000 feet up. You've got to do all of this. Focus in on one spot at a time.
I think that's where you start. Now, ideally, you want to get to a point where you're thinking about things like, if you're a parent saving for your kids' education, you want to think about your everyone should be thinking about retirement at some point. And can you do that? But starting small, getting your emergency savings buffer, and to your very good point, getting your debt in order are absolutely where I would start. And then you want to make sure that your money is making something for you, like we talked about. Like start small, build up to 3 to 6 months of income if at all possible, and make sure that your money is working for you and beating inflation.
I've been also reassured to see there was this trend on TikTok earlier this year too.
Which one?
Yeah. I heard about it once it made it to Instagram because that's how I see TikToks. It was the lock-in, the great lock-in.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I love this trend. So,
Okay, what do you make of it?
So here's by chance you do Peloton at all? Or
I'm familiar with it.
So they do a whole thing. Tons of places do this where it's like the last 30 days of the year, rather than building up to a big New Year's resolution, which the stats, so many people quit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you actually lock in for the end of the year?
Oh,
whether
okay.
it's finances or fitness, whatever it might be. So I actually did this last year because my kids are finally at the age where I was like, I need to start exercising more. So I did like 30 straight days of 30 minutes. Killed my soul, but
that sounds awful.
Yeah, it was awful. But a few of the days it was like, I have not done this yet, so I'm gonna just sit and meditate for 30 minutes. But I did it. It's the same thing with your finances. So can you, for the last, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days of the year, at this point we're down to less than 30, can you lock in on your finances? So can you start to do a little bit of savings or a little bit of budgeting every day for the last 30 days of the year?
So it's like, instead of, because the classic is, well, we're waiting, right? We're waiting, and then we'll start. January 1st, we'll start.
Yeah.
It's like, just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
And start now, and start little, and day by day do more. You give the perfect example. Eat a little, eat one night out less a week. This can be hard in December. There's a lot of stuff going on.
But you see then, after a month, what difference did that make, right?
Significant difference. I mean, is any eating out bill or DoorDash bill less than $20? No. So save that 20.
We DoorDash Taco Bell recently, which I'm embarrassed to admit. But do you remember when Taco Bell used to be like 60 cents for a taco or something ridiculous?
Go-to.
Yeah, not anymore. Holy cow. But I mean, ridiculous what you can spend on some of these fees and things. So, and then once you do start to hit your goals, I found too, it kind of becomes a little game.
Yes. So and you build confidence in yourself.
It's like
once you
tracking your steps every day.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I love this lock-in concept. I too heard about it via my sister, who's younger than me, sent it to me and said, you guys should think about something like this. And I was like, we should, because it gives you sort of a small, immediate goal to work towards.
I love that. The other big difference, I think, that makes, whether you make or break it on something like this, is having people to actually talk to about it. Another big sort of aha moment for me. Granted, I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where we didn't shy away from talking about money, which I'm very grateful for now.
Sounds like you have a friend though now.
And I have, my best friend who is a consultant who lives and breathes spreadsheets, right? Starting to have those candid conversations with him about goals and savings and percentages and things that I didn't want to think about or never thought about. And then, having someone to defer to or go to when you've got questions, that is huge.
It's huge. And because the vulnerability that comes with talking about money is
emotional.
So real. And it's personal. It's some people connect it to their worth and their value and their identity. So it can be very hard to talk about. I'm sure you saw in the survey, many more people than I expected noted that they had someone to talk to.
The overwhelming majority.
Yes, which was sort of honestly shocking to me. Now, what we don't know is what are the depth of those conversations looking like? True.
Because I've also seen surveys too where a lot of people still feel very uncomfortable just in general talking about money. It's still one of those taboo subjects.
Exactly. I will say though, that old adage, you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Make sure the person that you're talking to about your money, please be thoughtful about who that is. And check, check with others maybe, or check with, go on Vanguard.com or your local AI agent even.
Maybe not the impulse shopper is the person you should be deferring to.
Or many financial advisors, their biggest source of leads is their friends and family. So that can be great, actually, if they're a great advisor. It also can be scary if they have ulterior motives. So you want to make sure that you're talking to someone who you can trust. If I can give you any advice and you do lean on a financial advisor, make sure it's fee-based. Like, you don't want them making money off of churning your portfolio. Look for a fee-based advisor because their incentives usually are at least a little more aligned with the customer.
And thank you for mentioning that. I'm going to throw in a link to a story we did a few months ago. There are also ways to make sure that you're checking their credentials.
Yes.
Online too. You know, there's all these different letters attached to financial advisors.
There are, and there's this, you can go on broker check. You can is one of the sources you can use. And obviously, like we have a ton of financial advisors at Vanguard, so I think the world of them. But no matter who you're looking for, please make sure they're fee-based. Please make sure they have the credentials, and ideally that they take fiduciary responsibility, because that means that their livelihood is sort of linked to making sure you are in good hands.
Yeah, if you're doing well,
they're doing well.
They're doing well. So look, I feel optimistic.
Yes.
And apparently a lot of people feel optimistic despite despite everything.
Yes,
lately.
Despite everything.
So that must feel good for someone in your shoes.
It does. It makes me feel, I would say, cautiously optimistic is what I would say. Like, I'm happy that people are even thinking about savings. That's huge. I want to make sure that optimism carries into the new year, and that we sort of do these. The reason I focus on baby steps because they're much easier to maintain. And so I want to make sure that people maintain that focus on savings, think about their high yield vehicles, and maintain that resolution as they head into the new year.
I think you called it, I don't know that we actually referred to it here, but the micro resolution, right?
Yes.
Is that a way to think about it?
Yes. And micro resolutions, like, scientifically proven to last a whole lot longer.
Because it's just so much less daunting in the end of the
It
day.
is. And you typically, like, when I did that 30 days, I was like, I'm just going to walk. I'm going to walk or do meditation. And once I started doing it for 2 weeks, I'm like, hey, remember I used to run? Like, now I'll do a run walk. And then eventually I was running 3 miles. So your confidence and your ambition for yourself grows after you build some credibility in showing up for yourself.
Yeah. Well, this idea that no one starts off as like the premier athlete or the top of the class at anything. You've got to progress your way to that.
Exactly.
This has been fantastic.
Yes, this has been so much fun. I really enjoyed spending time with you.
Kate Byrne, financial wellness expert and Vanguard's head of Cash Plus distribution. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of great insight. I hope that a lot of people take something away from this and that you approach your new year with some specific, small, practical goals.
Love it.
Love it. That's the In Your Corner podcast from CBS News Philadelphia this week. I'm Josh. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.